good to go. Hello and welcome back to the Foxy Property Chat podcast. How are we on this Wednesday, Phoebe?
I'm wonderful, thank you, Cody. How are you?
Yeah, excellent. Jake?
Terrific.
Yeah, we did some filming today, Jake and Phoebe. Lots of filming today.
What did you film?
Productive day.
Oh, you'll see, Phoebe.
To wait
you'll have to wait and see.
I filmed Foxy TV.
Oh, yeah, I
you're
have to wait and see. Don't tell me.
We're making a reel about
A reel?
client retention.
About looking sad in the warehouse again?
No. No, we should do a very happy one this time. Okay, well, thanks for joining us on the podcast. Thanks to everyone who sent through questions. I think they all came through Instagram, either via message if you want to remain anonymous, or you can, we'll try and keep the names out when there's sensitive information, but that doesn't happen too often. But thank you, everyone who sent questions through. Let's jump straight in. From Shamrock Hill Design's got a few questions here. How much do you charge for an occupied staging consultation?
Do you want to answer this one?
Yeah.
Zero. The answer's zero. I'll let you. You can carry on from there.
So all of our consultations are complimentary. So I know that we've had a couple of discussions with Shamrock Hill Design about making it an efficient process on with the consulting and doing the quoting part. And I do 100% acknowledge that they are and can be time consuming. However, we don't charge for our consultations. There's two reasons. There is nobody else in the process of getting your home ready for sale that you actually pay for a consultation. At that point, I am not parting with any of my experience. I'm not parting with any of my wisdom. I'm going in to create a connection. I'm going in to create that first impression. I'm going to show them how much easier it is going to be to get the home ready for sale. I'm going to give them confidence in the process and in us as a business. And I'm very much concentrating on building that relationship with a client. So it's not a sales pitch. I'm not going in there to actually do what I'm going to recommend at that point. I'm going in to see the home, answer their questions, and build and foster a great relationship from that point. We find by going in and seeing the clients, getting in front of them, we are so much more likely to lock in that job than if we just quote via Facebook or whatever other method you have of doing a quote. But by creating that relationship with them, going in and actually meeting the client versus going in and meeting just with the agent who then forwards our quote through to the client, again, is far more effective at locking that job in. So we do not charge for a consultation.
Part of the argument or part of the, I guess, decision-making process that some people have when they want to charge is so that there's no tire kickers, I guess.
Get rid of those ones.
So they're trying to say... and I can see that there's some logic to this where people say you want some skin in the game. You want somebody to pay for the consult because then you know they're serious about potentially going forward. And I don't disagree with that. But the opposite side, which is where we kind of come down on, is we don't want people to say no before we even have a chance to meet them, before we have a chance to look at the home. So while we do definitely go in sometimes and the expectations from the other side, it was never going to go ahead. The budget, they weren't aware of what the costs were, or they were getting us through just simply because the agent wanted them to, but they don't understand it. Like that happens.
Yep.
But far more often we can turn a consultation into a yes that otherwise they might not have even done or gone ahead with the consultation purely because of a $200-300 cost.
Most of the time, it's not. Like you said, you just said the budget was more of an issue. Most of the time, they're not really aware when we're going in and not having any payment for the consultation. It's less of an awareness about what styling's about. Sometimes I think their agents just suggested we throw a rug under the dining table and that's all it's going to be. That's if there is any sort of, I guess, walk in and you're like, oh, this isn't going to work out. That's generally why. Most of the time, our clients know where the budget's going to fall because we're so transparent with our pricing. So really, honestly, most of the time, where we come in as far as a quote goes, they're already kind of aware of where it's going to sit. So it's not as big a surprise as what we used to think it would be.
She follows up with another question. If you were to do a living room, dining room, kitchen, primary, bedroom and bathroom, what would a typical price be? I know there's no such thing as typical, but I'm trying to figure out if I'm charging enough.
Yeah, so that sounds like if I go for a one-bedroom unit, time space, $2,500 for an 8-week hire for us, and that's inclusive of GST. if it's a particularly large living space, if it needs a 6-seater dining table, not a 4-seater, there's going to be changes to that price. But as an indicative price, that's what I would say for us.
And the third question, curious what amount of each project or job you try to ensure is profit versus how much goes straight into expenses.
Yeah, I saw that question come
It's
through.
a trick. We don't probably look at it at that granular
Yeah.
of a level. We have a lot of overhead costs, which are kind of hard to attribute to any particular job. So obviously the warehouse is one, but the biggest one being staff. And while you could do a calculation to say, 3 staff for 2 hours, what's the cost, all that sort of thing, there's all of the other stuff that comes in it. We don't always know if we're sending 2 or 3 guys on the truck. We don't know how much time we can estimate, but there's all the preparation time beforehand. So the simple answer is we probably don't have an answer for an individual job and how much goes to profit. It's more that as an overall level, we know with the overhead costs that we've got, the fixed costs that don't change whether we're busy or not, we know how many jobs as a business we need to do per month. We kind of look at it on a monthly basis to be able to cover all of those things and break even, and anything above that goes into profit or starts to increase profit. So obviously you can break a month down into weekly sort of numbers, but it ebbs and flows. There are some weeks where we're busier than others, so we look at it on a monthly basis.
Yep. I think if you're smaller though, when we were smaller, we didn't look at it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing one job a day and you know exactly what your costs are or what it's going to cost you for the people in particular, the people's the biggest one, because we have we've got 25, 26 maybe now staff full time, and we've got people that are admin, marketing, people who aren't directly on the jobs. So it's harder to kind of attribute how much of that cost is per job. Whereas when you're starting out and you've got one stylist maybe in a contract logistics company, it's much easier to figure out what is the cost of that job.
When it comes to profit margins, I think we might have mentioned in the past. I don't know if you want to mention again what you aim for, what you're on. But before, in the early days, did you have any idea what profit margin the industry aims for? Had you heard a number, or you just you run the business and this is what it is?
From an industry point of view, the answer is no. I mean, we have talked about this before. Our cost, or what we charge for our staging, or what we did at the beginning, was the cost to hire the furniture plus 20%. We did some numbers to make sure that 20% covered things like the logistics, the delivery. 20, 30%, I think. Well, it might have changed, to be honest. It was, memory's a bit hazy on that one. But we picked a number. We made sure that covered the, like I said, the delivery costs, and it was, Phoebe's time. So it wasn't that we were even necessarily calculating a stylist's time until we brought somebody in and we had to do that. But from an industry point of view, I'm not sure what the answer is.
Okay, another question for somebody else this time. I've been asked to quote a display townhouse for staging. They will require furniture for up to 6 months, possibly longer. I haven't costed a job like this before. Any suggestions?
I don't have any suggestions because every time I price up a display home, I just can't see the value nor the time. I've not actually won the quote to actually go and style a display home because it just doesn't make sense. 6 month hire, we're short term hire, and I just can't price it up. We may as well purchase it for them. So
that's not to say it doesn't work, because it's the same as interior design for us is something that as a business we don't offer that service, and I know a lot of other staging companies have, and there've been some that have even gone to the point where they say we don't do staging for sale anymore, they only do that. Every time we've looked at that and compared it to the staging side of things, we just look at it and say that the amount of time that goes in for the profit difference compared to what we're doing now just didn't make sense for us. Like I don't know, it's one of those things I'm sure it makes sense in certain ways, but for us,
it's the fact that we would have normally had that furniture paid off within 6 months, whereas going to sit in a property for that duration of time for 6 months, you're not going to get the rotation of stock out. I don't see how you pay it off as efficiently as what we do in a display home. And that's to say if it only stays in for 6 months, because most of the ones I've quoted up on a year or 2 years. So yeah, it's a tricky one, and unfortunately I don't have the advice that you're after on that.
Ready, Set, Show Rogue Valley asked, and I should have probably clarified exactly what they're asking about, but they said, how do the stylists feel about the competitions of Foxy Games episodes? I think that's what other
they love it. They find it entertaining and fun. It's lighthearted. It's Actually, I don't even know who
We
the
don't
winner
even-
between
yeah.
Ebony and Emily was.
Sometimes we forget to go back and do the
Announcements,
Cody, you
yeah.
probably know because you see the comments coming through, but
Yeah.
a lot of the time we forget to even announce a winner.
Yeah.
So it's
we do.
more
I've
just a
actually
bit of
got it on
fun,
my
it's
list.
good for
to announce.
content. Yeah,
The foxy face off.
just asking the style
And
of
it-
stuff
Yeah.
off camera.
Emily said she likes it. She was the last one to compete, so
She would have had to
it's
say that.
the when you're on site and you're doing the install, it's the team morale, it's the fun, it's the joking around, putting together the video, kind of making it look like you're pitting yourself against one another. But
Yeah, that's
in
all
the end
done
of the
in
day, I
that's
don't
all
know
done
if
in the editing.
like
to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah. But so Eb was helping Em hang
Yeah,
all
helping
right, and
each
then
other,
like
yeah.
they. Emily got stuffed up with linen, so she took
Mm.
some of Ebony's. It's still very fun. It's
Yeah.
not.
And there's no
necessarily-
prizes. I think we might have done a coffee back in the day, but we don't do prizes. And yeah, like Jake said, half the time I forget to announce the winner weeks on. So
It's a good
Yeah.
way to highlight side-by-side properties, stuff
Yeah.
like that. They honestly don't happen all that often, so to make a feature thing out of it, it's awesome.
Lolly Lua, yep. Styling 3 bedrooms. They're 3x5 by 2.6. What to include, what to leave out. Should I style as a double or single?
Ceiling height.
I was like, why have we got 3 measurements? We only need a width.
What did I say?
You said the
You've
ceiling
obviously
measurement.
got the height as well. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, you saw my look then.
Yeah, I did.
What was the question?
Yeah. Jake's
I got
reaction
distracted.
sorry.
me.
So she's styling 3 small bedrooms in a home.
3 by
3
2
by 5
3
by
by
2.6.
3.5 by
Me-
2.6.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, you said that wrong. I could see
Okay.
what you're
Not
saying.
bad. What to
Like
include?
3 by 5
leave-
meters is not a small room.
Yeah,
That's a huge
agree.
room. But
Yeah,
you mean
3.5
3.5 by 2.6.
Yeah.
All right. So for us, our cutoff to get a double bed into a room is 2.7. So they are too small for us in one direction, obviously, to get a double bed in there comfortably. The reason being, normally they have cupboards that open out. If they've got sliding robes, you might get away with doing a bed, this double bed pushed up against the, but you have to have the length of the bed with the length of the room. But it really depends on the layout of that space, where the door is and where the cupboard doors are, with really small bedside tables. It most depends, obviously, on your target market, where it is. I would ideally not be styling a home with 2 single beds. So if you can get a double bed in there, it's obviously going to be good, but you have to make sure it's going to have the right orientation. If it's blocking a door or something, you can't do it. If I was going down a single bed, we're going to do a single bed with maybe a bed head, bedside table, lamp, floor rug, a teepee potentially, or a desk and a chair. If I'm doing both as single bedrooms, one will have a teepee and the other will have a desk and chair. So it's sort of appealing to a younger market, like little kids, and then you're appealing to the older kids, maybe like teenage feel, or boy girl. So trying to make sure you got the differences between the two.
Bianca Neal asks, what are your preferred days to install? Midweek, weekends, and why?
Not weekends.
0 weekends. Although we did a story on the weekend where we were doing some work on Sunday, but it was helping Cody move, so it was personal. I
Thank
think
you, Jake.
at the time I said, just doing what we do on a Sunday, and then I went, hang on a second, I don't want to give the impression that we work on Sundays.
No, we
because we don't. In terms of preferred install day, I mean, that's probably a question for you, Phoebe. I'm not sure if we have one other than... Well, no, we don't, do we?
No, our installation days are all completely guided by real estate agents and what day they would like to do their photography. Some agents like to do photos on a Friday, and that way they get the weekend to get all of their copy done and have the photos sent to them to list and have the listing go live on a Monday, and that gives them a full week to then drum up the sales campaign for their first open on a Saturday to make sure it's a good open. Some prefer their photographers have a shorter turnaround, so they have the photos on a Monday, they have it live by a Wednesday, and then they have 2 days to drum up their sales campaign. And then others, when it's organised from our clients, sometimes they'll get us to do the styling. Then they have the agents come through to do the appraisal because they feel like the agents are going to give them a higher value for sale price after it's styled than if they saw it with their furniture in it. So it just depends on our clients.
And last question from Array Property Styling. Do you get most of your clients from Insta or social media in general, or existing relationships with agents?
Existing relationships with agents would be where the majority probably... it's probably worth us updating the numbers again because we haven't done it for a little while, but last time we kind of looked at that comparison, it was around the 70% mark, I think, came from existing agent recommendations or referrals. Having said that, some of those agents came from Instagram as well.
A lot of the agents did.
Yeah, a lot of the relationships we now have and the repeat agents or the referrals that we get came from our marketing and reaching out that way. The direct clients, that other kind of 30% that come to us directly, where would you say most of those come from? A lot of them are just through the website, Google, reaching out for online quote requests that way.
Yep.
And then we do have some that say they've been following us and using us that way. So Instagram as well, but I'd say probably more from the website.
We've had an increasing amount coming from a family and friend referral. So I guess that's still the same sort of thing, word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yep. Excellent. All right, on to under and overrated to finish the podcast. I feel like I couldn't remember if we'd done this one before, but escape rooms.
Underrated as a team building kind of activity. Yeah, a lot of fun.
What about as just something to do?
I wouldn't do it by myself. Team building, that's good.
Imagine doing it by yourself. One of the scary ones.
Yeah.
I've been not very good at that. On my
Underrated.
own.
Do you know how you?
No, we needed pairs in ours. So you couldn't do it by yourself.
Okay.
Do you know how you can tell it was? I can tell it was underrated is because when you walked out afterwards, you spend the next hour telling each other about it, like all the details.
And I was
the things,
disappointed
like,
because we didn't get out, but I was disappointed the time was ending. I was like, man, I want to keep going. So to me, that's underrated too. Phoebe,
did you smile and did you answer?
Underrated. I organised the activity. I knew it was going to be a big one.
An aisle seat on an international flight.
Overrated. No, I prefer the window seat. I much prefer the window
I'd
seat.
much prefer the aisle, but I don't think it's underrated because I just assume everybody wants the aisle seat.
Really?
Yeah.
No, a lot
Is
of
that not
people
the
want
case?
windows.
Well, then it's underrated.
I like
Your wife
I like
doesn't?
windows.
Yeah, but you're cramped in, and if you
Yeah,
want
but
to
you can lean against.
You wanna go to the
and
bathroom,
got
you
your own
can't.
space.
Yeah.
Who goes to the bathroom on the airplane?
a 16-hour flight,
No.
you do, and then the guy next to you is sleeping, and you got to wait.
Who, me?
No, you don't. You say, excuse me.
This is a bit of a random one, but the undo button.
Oh, underrated.
Underrated. Use it regularly.
Imagine if you didn't have an undo button.
Oh yeah. I'm just thinking about all the different computer, the iPad,
Applications,
the
yeah.
phone, all the different ways I use an undo button all the time. Yep.
Blueberries.
Well, I love blueberries, so I'm gonna
Fruit.
go. I'll go underrated. I think
Not
they're great.
Overrated.
Not the mobile
No, I
phones.
don't like blueberries.
Underrated if they're good.
You take a whole punnet.
Blueberries is one of those fruits that
Yeah.
it's hit and miss on whether they're good or not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Well, that's a lot of fruit, but and canvas artwork
Rated?
versus the other types, I suppose.
Yeah.
Rated.
Just rated.
For what you can pay for some of it, I don't know. I don't know how long it takes them to paint it. Rated. Just rated.
I don't know how to answer it.
All right. and this podcast episode.
Underrated.
All right, we'll finish there. Thank you, Jake and Phoebe.
Thanks, Katie.
You're welcome.
Thanks everyone for the questions. Thanks for listening, watching, and we'll catch you back here. Well, maybe not next week.
No, you guys are off to
We're off to VCon
America.
in Indianapolis.
Correct.
So the week after, maybe.
No,
It's all right, I'll hold the fort down.
live podcast from America. No, that's not going to happen. So
It'll be,
That's
it'll
very
be weird
unlikely.
timing. So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, and yeah, catch you in the next episode.
bye.